Hey everybody, it's Mike Young, lifestyle nutritionist with aPlantBasedDiet.org. Welcome to chapter 58 of my book, and it deals with alkaline and raw foods. And you may be wondering right away, why am I putting that in the same chapter? Well, the next chapter is going to be more acidic and cooked foods, if that gives you any hint as to why, because I'm trying to simplify this. You can overcomplicate anything. And in this book, Live to 150, we're basically trying to get you to double your lifespan. Get your longevity up to a point where you can expect that you're not going to be just maybe okay for 50 years, and then you got 25 years of a downward spiral, and then that's it. Or maybe you get an extra 10 years or 20 years maybe as a bonus. But we're going to double that, like I said. And at the end, we don't want anybody to be sick. So what's the major problem? What's going on here? Why am I doing a chapter on raw foods? I had a whole chapter on food in general. I did mention raw foods in there. The food chapter talks specifically about the types of foods you should and shouldn't eat. Now, let me talk about raw foods. Raw foods, as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, this is based on all my experience too. And just me, my own background being a lifestyle nutritionist, I do believe that raw foods should make up probably at least half of your diet, I'd say, at least. And of course, we're talking about organic raw foods. We don't want any chemicals in there, especially if it's raw. Now, why do people cook food? What's the history behind that? I mean, I've talked about this already in the book, and I've talked to others about this. I do think that, maybe humans used to live closer to the equator. You didn't have to worry about cooking foods. There's always an abundance of food. Just pick it, eat it right off the plant, eat it raw. You get the enzymes, everything's alive, it's living. It doesn't even know that it's still not living by the time it goes into your mouth. So it transfers that living positive energy to you. Cooked foods, on the other hand, a lot of times they're foods that you have to cook. You really just would be so unappetizing if you didn't cook, like all meats or all flesh, all animal muscle. If you don't cook that, I mean, I know sushi is a thing, but still, if you really think about it, that's why I never used to want to eat, any kind of animal muscle or things like that when I was growing up, is because I just thought about it and it's gross. It's disgusting. Why would you want to eat some muscle, blood, veins, these types of things? Who knows what other diseases are in there? Cancer. You could just be eating cancer, really. It's kind of gross when you think about it. And you got to cook those foods. And a lot of the plants that are hard to eat too, like beans, like a lot of the grains, but specifically beans. You're just not going to eat beans raw. You're going to have to cook those, okay? Because it's like you're going to break teeth probably by trying to do that. And but this chapter is on the raw foods. It's on alkaline. Now, for the most part, if you do some research, which I highly encourage you to do, on the difference between alkaline foods and acidic foods, alkaline foods, I think the general consensus out there, I really hope that it is anyway, is that alkaline foods are preferred for your body. Everything's in better balance or optimal balance when you're eating mostly alkaline foods. Apparently and supposedly, according to some people, cancer can't survive in an alkaline environment. Cancer is just another disease, believe it or not. It's an imbalance. It's like you're doing something wrong type of a situation, like the other diseases. So if you're eating a lot of cooked foods, a lot of animal products, a lot of dairy itself is acidic, all these things that you absolutely know, I mean, you just know you shouldn't really be eating these things. It's less than optimal. They're going to cause you to move away from that alkaline condition. So this chapter is focusing on alkaline. So what do you do? In general, you need to adopt this, and let me know below, like maybe a percentage of your foods that are raw. You need to start eating raw foods. I know it's harder and harder to eat raw foods as you move further from the equator or further from the tropics. It really is. They're just not as available as much. However, we have lots of great transportation systems that are in place these days. Nice, reliable transportation, refrigerated transportation. We didn't have these. You still run into the problem if you don't know how long something's been picked. You don't know how long it's been since they picked it, if they picked it ripe, if they didn't gas it, till it got to the store. You don't know for sure if it's really been done organically or chemical free. You don't know. You're not there in the growing process. You don't know what kind of soil that they had. You don't know what kind of water they're using. A lot of times they could be using anything from rainwater, which could even be acidic, to tap water, treated chemical water, to well water, to reverse osmosis water. And then, of course, the light. What are they growing these plants in? You don't necessarily know that either as you're further away. Hopefully we can have some trust in these systems. If we do, and let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below, or develop new systems that will ensure greater trust and actually greater transparency as to actually what kind of food you're actually getting. okay? Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of thought that's been in that, because if you look at the grocery stores, most of the grocery stores are only, the produce is only a small little section of the grocery store. It should be a huge section. And maybe when people start eating differently, because it's only a matter of time, I think, get in that produce section, all those raw foods, alkaline foods, that maybe we will redevelop these transportation and logistics systems. We'll redevelop systems for ensuring, certification of, what you're getting, what you're eating. Because like I said, for the light part, it could be anything from sunlight. It could be some old-fashioned grow lights, could be LED lights, could be a combination of lights. I don't even know. It could be a thousand different things. And in that area, I think that most people do agree that if you're harnessing energy, that's what this is about, the food, living energy, the sun is almost always going to be best, so that's something to think about as well. But the bigger point here that I'm trying to make, the more general point, is that you just need to eat more pure, properly grown, organic, chemical-free produce, fruits and vegetables in the raw state without things removed, like juicing. Juicing has its place, okay? But I'm talking about this isn't about a juice cleanse here. I mean, we can have a chapter actually about that. I think I don't know if I have one I had already, but I will make it out in the future to do one on that. That's different, okay? I'm talking about your daily routine. That's the most important thing. That's what's going to determine your longevity and your quality of life. So in this case, you just want to eat as many of these raw fruits and vegetables as you can. Of course, it's got to be high quality. Let's not forget about that. Just because we checked off all the boxes of what I mentioned earlier on both sides doesn't mean it tastes good. Doesn't mean it's a good quality. Doesn't mean it was even the right variety. There's a lot of things that can go into this. So keep all this in mind. But as long as you're keeping the general idea that you need to eat more raw foods, more life transmitting foods, more living foods that will put your body in an alkaline environment, that's the point of this chapter. So I hope that this has been beneficial to you. If it has, please give us a like here for this chapter. And like I said, the next chapter is going to be on the opposite. This is the good chapter. We're starting off with the good one. This is what we want to really move forward. And of course, if you look at our logo for our ALKALINE, look at the logo there. There's lots of color, That's why we can see in color, right? So that we can see these things. The animal products are almost always a shade of brown or red because of blood. The red, we don't want to see red for blood. We want to see like beet red, tomato, ripe on the plant tomato red. Like the red behind me, these types of reds, not animal product reds. That's, someone who's like bleeding out type of thing. That's disgusting. And that your body doesn't need any more unless for some reason you need a blood transfusion, but we're not getting into that. We don't do medicine here. Okay. We're just talking about what to eat. We're talking about the foods and the habits, the foods and the habits, the lifestyle that goes along with everything. So hopefully this is beneficial. Like I said, keep it in mind. You may need to replay this one. This is not something you get very often if you are living in the developed world. Because like I said, you go into the grocery store and only a small section is produce. And if it's not a store that sells a lot of produce, it's probably not going to be that high quality either. So it's good to develop relationships with your local farmers. If you need to move closer to the tropics, do it, because if that's the way you're going to be able to get your higher quality fruits and vegetables and or grow them yourself, which I highly recommend. I absolutely encourage you to do that. That is like the ultimate, because everything that you're eating. The hard part is to try to get enough of a variety of plants so that you can just live off of that, and also be in a place where you can grow all year round. Although greenhouses can kind of assist in that. And that's kind of a hybrid, of course, between growing indoors, which is probably the least favorable, to growing outdoors, which is probably the most favorable, but so many factors in there. So I look forward to reading your comments, and think about the raw foods, raw living foods that alkalinize your body. That's it. We'll see you in the next chapter. Bye-bye.